Welcome to another episode of Entitled Parents by Tail Square, where we share stories about parents believe the world should cater to them and their family's needs. Tune in to hear how our OP's family makes him feel like an outsider. My dad calls me names and yells at me when he is drunk. I had enough and exploded back, but my mom and sisters looked at me like I needed mental help. Where do I even start? I'm crying as I write this. I definitely need mental help because I'm emotionally unstable and end up in short-tempered outbursts if I feel like I'm being targeted. I don't like to be bothered. I like to be free and without people telling me what I should do. I used to be different. I used to be a total pushover. I gave in to people and things and was never angry and cried myself to sleep. But at one point I had enough. This was a few years back. I started becoming defensive of myself. It's like by exploding at someone or projecting my anger on the person getting angry at me or accusing me of things, I get to be peaceful or let things out. My dad, ever since I was little, didn't give me enough love. I always feel neglected in my family. I'm the oldest kid, so things are never in my favor because I'm the first to go through things. Studies, adolescence, instability in decision-making, little fights where I'm always on the losing end because I don't have anyone to support me, siblings taking advantage of that loophole when I'm not being favored, etc. I have no one on my side. I don't think I ever felt loved in my family. I was constantly restricted. I once got 9/10 on a test paper, mock, and I was so afraid to bring it back home that I threw that test paper away and pretended like I got 10. It's just a single-digit difference, but I was overwhelmed. Yesterday, and even this morning, my dad keeps yelling at me and calling me names when he is drunk. My mom initially said, "He won't remember a thing he says when he wakes up," but no, he is acting like it. He does this every time. And the one time I yelled back because my heart couldn't take it, suddenly I'm the bad guy. It was bad. I started name-calling my own dad out of anger. But somehow I feel both better and like a reflection of him, which I hate. I don't know why he is always so angry at me. He says I'm worthless. He calls me names and says things I don't think my friends around my age have to listen to. He always talks about how he gave me food, shelter, and water to live and how I am doing nothing to give it all back to him. He talks about how I bring nothing to the table when I'm still just a student and studying. He talks about how much he paid for school fees and I'm still useless. He says I don't pay the rent for the apartment or the clothes or things he buys, so why am I even living with them? Both my parents have mentioned that they regret having me. Like, did I ever ask to be born? Did I ever? I don't want to be your child either. I'm so jealous. I see people with perfectly sound families and how they all get along despite the small disagreements. But I'm always the bad guy in these situations. My mom says I need mental help and that she won't let me say anything bad about her husband. Then what about me? Who am I to her? She says that I'm very loud when angry and need to calm down. How else am I supposed to let this heat off my chest? You triggered me first and expect me to be calm? How? Even my sister don't care. They never did. No one in this family is normal. No one is loving or caring. I hate this place so much. I don't even feel like studying or doing anything productive because of them. It's like I'm trapped in this place of instability. I have no one to show my good results to or share my success. My family will be happy about my results, not me. Who am I even studying for? Is there even a need for that? I could just die tomorrow, and things would be peaceful. If I am productive, it's like I'm doing it for them and not myself. I hate how I think. The only thought that helps me counter this is I'll be free if I study. I can get a job, I can move out, and don't need to see their faces. There is really no warmth in this place. Everything is so neglectful. I cared too much about people years back, but not anymore. I've become more apathetic to things. I hate how this place treats me and makes me feel. My family decided they won't be talking to me because I told them I like to be free, and it hurts so bad. Am I not human too? How long can I last without socializing? It's more peaceful when no one is bothering me. But that isn't the solution to what you guys are doing? Like, what am I even supposed to do at this point? It's so sad. I want to share this with a friend or anyone, but I don't have anyone I trust. It hurts so much. From loving mom to spiteful frenemy, how do I deal with a drastic personality change? My 42, mom, 71, has always been a very devoted, loving person who would make any sacrifice for her kids. She used to be kind and caring, but also a very anxious and stressed person. She is a stay-at-home mom. My brother, who is 7 years older than me, has 3 daughters. He lives 3 hours away from my mom, but despite this, my mom babysat my nieces for 18 years. Now he has stopped asking my mom for help, but up until 3 years ago, he would call my mom constantly and ask her to go babysit my nieces because he had a dinner, tickets for football, etc. Sometimes my mom would travel in the morning, babysit during the night, and return home the next day, a 6-hour round trip. For 18 years, my brother went on many holidays with my sister-in-law, and they would just leave the children with my mom and dad. Kids would be as young as 2 years old, and they would be gone for as long as 3 weeks. One of my nieces has a disability that makes it very hard to take care of her, epilepsy, autism, but they couldn't care less. They would just dump the kids and go, countless times a year. My sister-in-law would also get her parents to babysit, but far less often than my parents, who were always on call. Over the years, my parents even stopped going on holidays or making their own personal plans because my brother would dump the kids at their house or ask them to come to his house with no warning. Here's my issue. About 3 years ago, I had my first child, and I expected my parents to be devoted grandparents. I would never ask the same stuff my brother asked my mom, but I did hope my mom would take care of her grandchild every now and then and babysit occasionally. When my son was born, my mom and dad stayed with us at my house and helped take care of the baby. Both my parents visited us frequently for a year. I also lived 3 hours away. First problem. After my son turned 2, the visits decreased to almost 0. If I ask my mom to come, she says she can't. No matter the motive, usually one of us is very sick and we need help with my son. Second problem. The other change I saw in my mom was, when we visit my parents, my mom tries to be as little involved as possible. She will take all morning to do a simple lunch. She will start cooking at 9 a.m. so she's always busy and can never spend time with my son. It breaks my heart because I know she's doing it on purpose. It's a big house, and if my son is in the kitchen, she will go to the basement. If I take my son to the basement, she will say she's too hot and go upstairs. She always has an excuse to either go out, be in a different room, or be extremely busy. Third problem. Initially, she had no problem in letting my son bond with his grandfather. She would actually encourage my dad to be with my son, so she didn't have to. She would tell family and friends that my son had a big bond with my dad and that he wanted nothing to do with her. But her new plan is to stop my dad from having a bond with my son because she doesn't want either of them to babysit my child. Every day, she makes sure my dad is very busy. We're here at my parents' house now. We were planning to stay here for 2 weeks so my son could bond with them and so my husband and I could also go to the cinema or a restaurant or two. We have no other help or opportunities to do this during the year. This was our only chance, but she won't let us. She resents me for sleeping in a bit later, for going out for a walk. Even if I take my son, she's relentless in her attacks. She hates me for everything I am and always talks to me in a very angry way. As for my son, he is an adorable toddler, but he takes time to warm up to people. If you give him some attention and play with him, he will always feel comfortable and happy with you. But if you don't, he will cry if I or my husband leave. My mom's actions have led to my son never wanting to be with her. She won't feed him, bathe him, or change his diaper. She won't take him for a walk. She won't join us for a walk. She wants total detachment from him. And now, she's getting my dad to do the same. How do I deal with this heartbreak? I feel like I've lost my mom while she's still alive. I, 24F, want to move out and cut ties with my mother, 53F. I'm 24 and a college student and really have no time to be finding a job. I have so many exams to finish and classes to attend. My dream is to become a concept artist and to work in 3D drawing and designing characters and creatures is something I love doing. I have been suffering from depression and have been in a situation where I could barely eat one small meal a day. But the starvation is not due to me not wanting or being able to eat. It's due to us not having any food in the fridge. I had a very rough childhood. My mother used to beat me to the point of passing out and verbally abuse me on the regular, letting me go to sleep teary-eyed with cuts and bruises all over my body. My father is a coward who would ignore all the abuse and pretend like those things never happened. To this day, my mother loves to barge into my room to call me useless and keeps telling me to get a job so I could be useful for once. She keeps saying how I have no future, that I'm a disgusting pig and useless like my dad, and that I will never be able to live on my own or accomplish anything. She quit her job 5 years ago to care for my sick grandparents. To be fair, she didn't do any work for almost 10 years prior to her quitting. I have no idea how her boss allowed that, but whatever. She said that she will find a job at some point in the future. But in reality, she doesn't really care about jobs and helping the family out. She made up an excuse as to why she can't work, and it's supposedly due to her horrible agoraphobia. I know full well she does not have any condition that makes her terrified of going outside. Recently, her uncle took us to a restaurant full of people, and she seemed to have a good time. She goes to the nearby shopping mall almost every week, and that mall in particular tends to be jam-packed with people. The little money we have she spends on stupid sneakers and expensive accessories, perfumes, bags, and glasses to appear rich and sophisticated to others. People who could not care less anyway. We are barely middle class in a poor country and, of course, don't have a lot of money to begin with. How does she even have any cash to buy herself things then, you may ask? Well, after my grandparents died, she inherited some of the money and property they left her and her sister. I beg her almost daily to take her money and buy us some food because we are starving, but she keeps making up excuses to not do that and says things like some other time, "Don't you worry. It pains me that I have to go to my boyfriend's to be able to have a full stomach. I am tired of the pain in my belly and I am severely underweight and have been for 24 years. My father has a job with a ridiculously low salary and he uses that money to pay the bills. The apartment my grandparents used to live in is rented out to some family friend. The rent money is then split in half. One half goes to my aunt and the other to my mother. Sometimes I do commissions and earn money to pay my phone bills, and that's the only time my mother sees me as useful and dares to ask me to give her the money I made. My dream is to finish college and to live together with my boyfriend, far from my parents. I want to cut ties with my mother and start living life. I have no idea what to do. I feel stuck. The constant pressure from my mother is enough to drive me insane at times. The first step is to, of course, finish college. I'm nearing my graduation, thankfully. But what then? Finding a job is next, obviously, but there is no amount of money you can earn from work that will make you financially stable here. Living in this country is not even living, it's more of a survival. I'm asking for help on how I should plan my future. Have you ever been in a similar situation? Please let me know what you did to save yourself from a life like this.